Hello everybody and welcome to Parks Bros. It's Drew here, and today we're all becoming David because we're taking on Goliath in our full in-depth review. Goliath opened at Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California, February 11th, 2000, and at the time of its opening was the tallest full-circuit coaster in the world, at least for a little while, before Millennium Force took that record from the ride and eventually Steel Dragon 2000 in Japan. But speaking of its height and crazy speed, the ride itself has a height of 235 feet tall with a drop that goes underground, 255 feet to be exact, from the top of that hill to the very bottom. During that, of course, you'll reach a top speed of 85 miles an hour, and this ride is quite a long experience with 4,500 feet of track that you'll be traversing in 3 minutes time. Now, I guess I should mention there are no inversions on this roller coaster, just a bunch of hills and a lot, and I mean a lot, of crazy intense turns. Now that we know exactly what we're getting ourselves into, let's get over there and find the ride within the park. Once you park in Six Flags Magic Mountain's parking lot, you're going to see this ride next to, of course, Twisted Colossus and Superman Escape from Krypton, at least the large tower that's almost double the height of Goliath. But when you go through the park's front entrance, you're going to want to make a right and then a right again at that main fountain plaza, and just follow that main pathway past Full Throttle, as well as Bugs Bunny World and even the Whistle Stop Park. That's when you'll come across Goliath on your right-hand side with its giant and iconic entrance pathway, lined with enormous letters spelling out the ride's name, and you'll enter in right behind the I of the middle of the word. Since we've made it to the ride's entrance, let's go through the queue. Now, this queue is mainly outdoors, so do be prepared for a little bit of a warmer experience while you're out there. Thankfully, though, there are Mr. Fans on those especially hot days. But a lot of this queue gives you a little bit of a sense of what's happening on the ride itself, with many views of those final helices at the end of the ride layout. Soon you'll find yourself in some switchbacks that are lined with trees and bamboo, and there's even some ancient statues, or I guess I should say ruins of statues, talking about this giant mythical character of Goliath. Scattered throughout this queue, of course, are TVs showing off advertisements and commercials, like most other roller coasters in this park have as a feature in their queues, and even little bits of trivia here and there as well. Eventually, you'll find yourself going right next to where Drop of Doom and Superman Escape from Krypton's tower goes directly up, so it is a little bit loud right there, I won't lie to you. But then you'll finally make a right-hand turn to a staircase which leads you up to the station. In this station, you'll have a choice of 15 different rows to go on for your experience on Goliath. So now that we've made it there, let's hop on to the ride vehicles. This Giovanola hypercoaster, which there are only 2 ever to operate, this and of course Titan, its sister coaster at Six Flags over Texas, it has a little bit of a unique ride vehicle. These cars are 3 rows long and feature 2 seats per row, but there's also 5 cars, meaning that 30 people can ride this train at once. But once you get seated, you'll find out that these seats are nothing special, no ankle restraints or over-the-shoulder bars, and just a pretty normal, comfortable for the most part seat. You will have to put on a seatbelt though before lowering your lap bar, which, unlike other rides in the park, like Twisted Colossus, actually has the handlebar built into the lap bar itself and is a little flatter, so there's no divot that fits between your legs. But now that you're sat down, there's no turning back now. Let's head up that massive lift hill and go down that 61-degree drop. Starting out your ride on Goliath will put you in a 180-degree right turn toward the lift hill. Now this turn is quite slow, I won't lie, but that's just leading to anticipation, you might even say. An anticipation turn. But before you know it, you'll be heading up that pretty incredible lift hill and get an amazing view of everything in the area, whether it's the mountains in the far background or the parking lot and the rest of the park in the foreground. This, I would argue, is one of the best outlooks of Magic Mountain easily, with the only exception maybe being X2's lift hill. But this is where it all starts to really set in, how high up you are and how slow you're going. Well, the moment you crest that top of the hill, your chain will actually slow down a little bit. And if you're in the front row, it almost feels kind of like a dive coaster in a way, which this is a little bit of a fun fact. I did hear a guest in the park one time compare the ride to Griffin at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, which is a dive coaster, but going from 2 miles an hour upward to the speed of 85 within a couple of seconds is pretty amazing, I will not lie. And of course, you hitting that top speed will occur after an incredible hand chopper and head chopper moment diving down 20 feet underground into that awesome tunnel. Also at the bottom of that drop are some pretty amazing G-forces that push you down into your seat, which is a pretty common element on this roller coaster. But going back to the drop that just occurred, I won't lie, this drop is not the most insane or anything like that. You won't get crazy airtime, but I do think it's pretty cool for being unlike any other major drop, at least that I've experienced like that. Soon you'll rise up 200 feet again and twist to the right, which I won't lie gives you some awesome lateral forces to the left-hand side that I always seem to enjoy before diving back down toward the ground, and at the bottom of this hill is where the pictures will be on your left-hand side. So make sure to pose right there, whether you're screaming and crying or having an awesome time. Following this is probably the most underrated moment of the ride, at least for me, and this is a floater airtime hill, which will push you out of your seat quite gently and kindly, if you will, and gives you a great moment of weightlessness that lasts even a couple of seconds. And I would even argue it's one of the best floater airtime hills I've ever personally experienced. And to be 100% honest, is one of my favorite moments of the roller coaster itself. Soon you'll be twisting and turning upward and left into that infamous mid-course brake run. Now you might wonder, why is it infamous? Well, you will slow to a complete stop, which for a lot of people I know kills the ride's pacing or whatnot. But if you're sitting on the left-hand side, you get a pretty crazy view of down toward the ground as you start twisting to the left immediately afterward. And personally, I can say I'm glad that it stops fully, because the next section of the ride would surely make you pass out if it did not. After diving downward and to the left, you'll twist to the right and start to feel a build of crazy positive G-forces before flattening out and experiencing the most forceful moments of the ride. Twisting downward and to the right in a giant double helix, you will start to pull upwards of 3.5 Gs for an extended period of time. No joke, we're talking about 8 straight seconds of insane positive G-forces pushing you down into your seat, and I will not lie, I gray out every single time I ride this roller coaster at that moment especially. My vision goes blurry and I'm just having a crazy good old time. But immediately after this, you'll turn to the left while you're trying to regain your composure and face another right-hand turn into that final brake run, which just leads you right into the station. Of course, grab your things from the bins across the station that were free, of course, and head down the long extended rampway back to that front entrance, and your experience on Goliath is officially over. Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain, to me, is, I gotta say, one of the most overhated rides I can think of. Is it the best ride ever? No, definitely not. But at least within the roller coaster community, there's a lot of people that seem to think this ride is bad because it focuses on something different from what they want. But I will say, personally, this is a fantastic ride, and I would argue has rivaled other coasters of the same height for me. Sure, it's not airtime hill after airtime hill after airtime hill. Well, to me, that kind of gets boring after a while. Having the awesome difference in elements, whether it be that crazy forceful helix, that floater hill, or even the dive into the tunnel, that keeps me interested in this roller coaster all throughout that extremely long layout. This ride doesn't do anything exactly perfect, I guess, but I can say adding all of the elements together, this ride is something you should definitely check out when you're at Six Flags Magic Mountain. It's really comfortable, has a lot of great moments, and if you're not used to riding some bigger and badder roller coasters, this is a great step into facing your fears. With all that said, though, I think it's time to head into my official ratings. Now, if you haven't seen any of these full in-depth reviews from Parks Bros quite yet, make sure to do so, but I have a little bit of an unorthodox rating system. First, I'll talk about how experienced of a roller coaster rider you relatively should be before checking it out with a ski slope rating. I'll follow that up with a star rating out of 5 for intensity and fun, and I'll add it all up together for an overall score out of 10. I know it's a little all over the place and wacky, but it's how I best organize it. So, starting these ratings off, let's head to the ski slope rating, where I would definitely recommend being an experienced roller coaster rider. This shouldn't be your first roller coaster ever. I do not recommend that at all. I would recommend plenty of other rides in the park prior, though, especially Gold Rusher, Revolution, West Coast Racers. And I would say if heights is a big concern for you, this ride is going to be a little tougher to get on than most. That leads us to our intensity rating, though, of course, and I would probably say this is a 4 out of 5 star intensity rating. I could even argue potentially heading toward 5 just because of that insane height, speed, and positive G-force. But I do think there are certain parts of the ride that are a lot tamer than other coasters in the park, which I've given 4 stars before. Something like Riddler's Revenge, which is kind of non-stop inversions. So I think I'm going to settle on 4 stars for that. But for fun, well, fun's not exactly the main point of this ride. It's more about that intensity. So I'm going to say it's probably a 3-star rating for fun when it all comes down to it. There's some really fun elements on it, but it's really not the main focus, and you can definitely tell that. Well, let's now head toward the overall score. Now, this seems to be a common score at Six Flags Magic Mountain for me. Maybe it's just because I've ridden all of these rides so much and I have a lot to say about them, but I'm going to say this ride gets an 8 out of 10. I honestly really enjoy Goliath. I think it's personally one of the best rides at the park, and I might get a little bit of hate for that, I'm not gonna lie, but it is not a bad ride at all. If you're hearing that and you haven't ridden the ride, I definitely recommend coming out to Six Flags Magic Mountain and checking it out for yourself. Now, if you don't like it, then fair enough. But just like every ride that I've reviewed, I highly recommend, whether I hate it or love it, make sure to go check it out for yourself, because really the only opinion that matters is your own. But with all that said, what is your opinion on Goliath? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd really enjoy reading your guys' thoughts. Do you think it's overrated, underrated, or just plain old boring? Let me know down below. And while you're down there, make sure to check out the description for a link to our brand new pins. If you really enjoy what we do and have already subscribed, liked, commented, and all of the above, make sure to check out the pins, because I'll be honest, that supports us more than anything. But with all that said, I do want to say thank you so much for watching, and of course, stay tuned for more of these Magic Mountain reviews coming out in the next couple of weeks. And of course, we'll be heading to Knott's Berry Farm in the new year for our review series then. So do stay tuned, especially if you're a Magic Mountain fan, because that Twisted Colossus and X2 review is coming out very soon. So again, thank you so much for watching, and of course, until next time, we'll see you on the next ride.